Best day of my life was the worst day of my life. When my dad died, I got the truth. And the truth was the meaning of life is love.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Love, Health, Prosperity Podcast. Today we have another special guest. Before we actually get into it, injecting positivity into the internet is one of the most important things that I feel that we should be doing at this time. There's so much negativity taking place that it's overwhelming. But I think the most important thing is to be able to find people that you could actually connect with. There's many people out there that I admire. Preston Brown, Jordan Peterson, Diego Dreyfus, Daniel Habib. These are people that are very influential, that really spread a message of positivity so that you could expand, grow, and be able to do something significant in life. Today's a little different, though, because I found inspiration from somebody who's actually from here. And when you do that, that's, man, golden, like you wouldn't believe. And the first time I heard about Preston was actually on Instagram, and he was talking about books about finances and Grant Cardone and things of that nature. And it really got me thinking about the importance of making sure that with mental health, you also provide very important goals for yourself. So probably one of the most fascinating people that I've met here in El Paso, and I'm happy to have him on the podcast today, Mr. Preston Brown.
Thank you, brother. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome,
it's an
man.
honor.
Yeah, it's so cool because I watch your videos and quite frankly, I could tell you that they're awesome videos, man. I think one of the captivating videos that really spoke to me personally was one that you released recently that talked about imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Good Lord, man. I have a hard time with that sometimes. And I'm 44 years old. So you can only imagine sometimes, you're doing things and you're thrown off about whether you're going in the right direction or not. But you really clarified that. And you really said, hey, you know what? If you're uncomfortable, you're going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I'd like to start off with that.
Sure. Yeah. I've always been the guy that, and it's probably because of mom and dad. I mean, I'd love to take credit for it because of mom and dad. I was a guy that would always bite off more than he could chew. And then I would run into a situation that was too big for me. And I've been lucky enough and at times good enough to come out of a nice big pile of shit I threw myself into, smelling like a rose. And I got invited to a speaking engagement, and there was no falling into a pile of shit here, right? Like there was no overachiever moment necessarily here. Like when you dive into something bad and you come out smelling like a rose, like you don't have to worry about the imposter syndrome because the threat is bigger than the psychology. It's like somebody holding a gun to your head and saying, go. Like if you're like, man, I took on this business opportunity, I'm going to lose $10 million. My wife might divorce me. My kids, I won't be there all the time. You'll find a way to solve it. Mm-hmm. Well, so the discomfort you feel mentally is negligible. Well, at the speaking engagement, it was a speaking engagement, bunch of real estate guys, bunch of self-help people too, like a bunch of folks that are at every conference, at every seminar. You're talking Robbins, you're talking Cardone, you're talking all these guys are going to it. And I was asked to be the keynote. There were a bunch of bigger names than me. Like I'm a fairly new brand on the social media world. I only got on it a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I did the talk. The room was crying. Like it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And everybody wanted to take pictures with me. And so I ended at 10, but we didn't leave till 1 because I was taking pictures with people. And you would think that was an honor. And I wish, and it was an honor in hindsight, but that day I felt terrible. I felt like an imposter. I mean, it was an honor to get called to do this talk. It was an honor to do the talk. I spoke from my heart. I told the truth. Like, and a lot of people get triggered when you tell them the truth, but it's not you that's triggering them, it's truth. And if you're a good communicator and you can tell it in an articulate way that's not creating blame, then people can actually hear something. And that talk opened a lot of people, which partly was planned, but I think maybe might have had a guardian angel on my shoulder that day helping, because the room was amazing. All these people taking pictures of me, and the entire time I'm sitting there like, why the fuck are you taking a picture with me?
Yeah.
Who am I? I'm a real estate dude in El Paso. But people coming up and hugging me, you changed my life, and, I've never seen this way. And like, I sat there for hours, uncomfortable, almost to a point of mad at these folks for taking a picture with me. Not mad at them, but mad at the situation, because I was like, I don't deserve this. And I meditate. I meditate a lot. Like I'm a nerd. I'm a business geek and all that, but I also wake up sometimes way too early in the morning. And when there's something I don't understand, I will go sit in my hot tub. I'll sit in a river. I'll sit in a bathtub. It's always in water for some damn reason. But I was sitting there and I was like, why would I be that uncomfortable?
Yeah.
What was going on? I felt like an imposter. And the word came out of my mouth, and I'm sitting there in my hot tub talking to myself, asking questions. If you want a better life, you should ask yourself a better question. And why, when I did something to help people, am I almost mad at them for wanting a picture with me? It's an honor, but it didn't feel like an honor. Like you felt being honored. This didn't feel like an honor. It felt terrible. And it was magic. I was like, what if imposter syndrome is something that we have completely misunderstood? What if it's God saying, hey, if you want to grow a flower, you need a seed and you need a pile of shit. So the pile of shit in every other context would have been a bad thing. But with the seed and a little bit of water, it became the discomfort that grew you. What if it's an indicator of growth? What if it's, hey, this is the direction I want you to come? The most comfortable thing in the world is a coffin. You get to lay down there and stay forever. But the meaning of life is movement. Like, we have to move, we have to think, we have to be, we have to live, we have to achieve. And so that hit me, and I was like, oh my God. And so then I like to look at data, tiny shoulders, giant head, so I'm a nerd. And I was like, well, have I felt that feeling before? And anything I've ever done, I had that feeling. I had that feeling when my daughter was being born. I was so in love with this little human, but I didn't deserve her. I was an imposter. I promise I was not an imposter. I was there when we created her. I know. Yeah. Okay. I was there for the good parts, and I was there for like the birth, and I was there for every stage, and I love this girl, but I was an imposter, bro. Like I'm sitting there and I'm not good enough for this angel. And then that imposter syndrome was there in every business, every relationship stress, every moment right as I was about to learn something new. And it was like, oh, this is God's indicator that you're about to become something more. And it was a huge revelation for me. So I put it on social media because I told one person about it, and they start almost crying. They're like, that's amazing. Oh, I can't believe it. I've had this. I'm like, holy shit. I mean, maybe more people need this.
Most definitely. The way you had the wording that you used, man, it was just so basic, but at the same time, it hit so hard. And I think people need to hear those type of messages, because you can read about it and you can definitely, do some research on it, but sometimes you don't need to do all that stuff, man. With one or two phrases or one or two sentences that somebody says, they can project what you need to listen to, which is what happened with you.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I saw when I was watching some of your content was that I don't know if you were in a church or not, but you were inspiring others also, and I saw a bunch of families there too, and I thought that was really cool too that you were doing that, because it wasn't just content that had to do with growth professionally. It was content that had to do with family, and I think that right now, Preston, what we're missing the most is people being genuine in that respect, to be able to be better fathers, be better leaders in our communities, to be able to lead by example and not be afraid. But I think that it's kind of like a 360 with you. You've done pretty much everything, from being able to be influential, to being able to work your businesses, to taking care of your people, because I think that's the most important thing that you've been doing. I see all the people around you, they're so happy. You know, the people that work for you, they're extremely impressed by what you're doing, and the motivation just doesn't stop. It's at 100%. Talk to us about how that makes you feel.
Having a great family relationship, great teams, great, people around you in general it's amazing. Like, why would you do it any other way? Maybe not going into how it makes me feel, because the answer is just ecstatic all the time. Like, excuse me, like, I don't think God's made a mistake on people ever. Like, I think you are exactly the way you're supposed to be. I'm exactly the way I'm supposed to be. We're on this journey of learning and education, and we misunderstand the word and the idea of love. Like we should love everyone unconditionally as a brother and a sister. That's just the way we should do it. In the business world, which is why I think maybe sometimes I look a little weird, is people are happy, even though business is transactional. Like, you have to let people go. You have to condition people. You have to write people up. Does that mean you should stop loving them? No, it just means that you don't have to love them financially. You can love them unconditionally as a human being, and you can still say, hey, you know what? This is not a fit. We can either move you here or maybe go somewhere else. And you can do it in a way that's, hopefully the best for all parties. And you can create a culture, which if you think about a culture, what is a culture? It's about cultivation. It's about creating an outcome. Like, if you cultivate a garden, there's fruits, right? If you cultivate an organization, there's a result. So if there's a culture of productivity, that's the conditional love. There's nothing wrong with that. But conditional love's only worth, the juice is only worth the squeeze if, as you get over the rainbow, there's the pot of gold on the other side, which is the unconditional love, which is the real family stuff. Like, it's the, like, if you're in trouble outside of work, we want to help. Like, we care. Like we have an employee, I won't mention names, it's not fair business, who's not well right now. And it's fun watching the team come together. I didn't even know the person was not well. And yesterday the team's like, oh, we need to get a hold of this family member, and we need to find a way to take food, and we need to... That shit's awesome. Like, it's cool to see. Like, I don't know why people would tolerate not feeling that, is maybe the way I'd answer your question. Because, it feels good to work in a good place around good people who care. Fun example, like yesterday we had a realtor reach out, and the realtor's a friend of mine, and said, hey, this quality in one of your homes, it's not right, and da-da-da-da. And I reacted like people sometimes do, and I got mad, right? I was like, what the hell? Bullshit. Why are you doing that? Like, we've already addressed this. And so I called the gal that runs that company, and I said, hey, like, if you need to bomb this contract, like, sometimes you just can't help somebody. Maybe they're too picky. I love the realtor, but don't let my friendship get in the way of you handling your business the right way and properly managing expectations. And she was like, well, thanks for that. I already knew that. But before I even do that or respond this way, because I can tell you're frustrated, I'm going to go verify. I was like, okay. I'm calling having an emotion, and you're operating emotionally and logically. You're better than me, even though I pay you. Everyone's going to have a down moment.
Yeah.
But having the right people around you is like being on a trampoline. This is such a fun example, okay? If you get on a trampoline and there's an 800-pound guy sitting on the trampoline in the middle of the trampoline, it's like that, and nobody's jumping.
Yeah.
There's no energy. There's no effort. He's bringing everyone down. Okay? Now, if you get on that trampoline and that same 800-pound guy is jumping, then when you come down, have you ever been on a trampoline and you hit the ground and all of a sudden you are launched up?
Yep.
It's like everybody is helping everybody else to have more effort. It's like birds flying in formation. It's like, oh, wow. So we're either going to co-elevate or co-recess. If you're in a culture that co-recesses, why are you there? Stop tolerating that. You're only going to get what you're going to tolerate. Leave. So it's not how it makes me feel. I don't know why people tolerate anything else.
Yeah.
Like, they make me better. And when I have my human moments, they lift me up and protect me. I like to think I make them better. And that's from a work standpoint. Family, the same way. Like, you ever heard, like, good book quotes, iron sharpens iron? Well, is that like a rough experience or a soft, smooth, gentle experience? I mean, I imagine a couple bars where you are, like, doesn't sound gentle. It's not like made of like linen or silk. It's iron. And so here's an employee at my staff. She's like, well, respectfully, you sound triggered. Damn it.
That word, huh?
Yeah. Darn it. Okay. I'm triggered. Let me go verify. Like, look, if I need to do that, like if I need to set expectations, I'll do it. But at the same time, let me go verify. Like, what if our guys screwed up? What if our guys have now screwed up twice? Wouldn't we rather be right and like fair than just egotistical? Here's a fun thought, and I think it's true, and I don't think anybody can fully verify it, but it's my hypothesis and it works. So far, it's really helped. You can measure a person's success, especially men, like by the size of their ego. That's their success potential. Like if a person has a giant ego, what that means is their identity, which is the strongest driving force of their behaviors, is it needs to achieve more, to feel good, to have that level of significance. So you can measure a person's success potential by the size of their ego. So we have a misunderstanding of ego. Like, we all are, ego's bad. Is it?
Not necessarily.
Now, you can measure somebody's ability to actually garner that success by their ability to pull their ego down in moments and say, you know what? You're right. What if there was no good or bad? What if good and bad were ideas and contexts that we framed wrong? Like, what if blame was being lazy and making excuses? Like, and I'm not saying there's ideas that don't work. Like if you want to go and say, you know, I have this idea and it's not going to work, let's all invest all of our energy, the outcome will probably be bad. Was the idea bad? No. The idea probably wasn't bad. Like you got, like for fun example, different political parties right now, and one's like drill oil and one's like green energy. Does anybody have a bad idea? Is anybody a bad person?
Yeah.
I mean, what if they both have ideas that could, without hating one another, be discussed, you know? And people could say, hey, well, you know, maybe it won't be 100% this way yet. Maybe it won't be 100% this way yet. Maybe there's some way to meet in the middle. And what if we didn't hate each other and actually talk to each other?
Yeah. But don't you think sometimes society is that's sometimes the intention, though, to cause division between people all the time? Because technically, if we were to get all our brains together, we can do a lot of good in this world. But a lot of times, sometimes the ego gets in the way, right? And politics get in the way, and other things of that nature get in the way. And sometimes people don't look beyond being able to do something significant in life.
There's only one thing that gets in the way. All of those are not what gets in the way. Those are examples of excuses people can use for what got in the way. But the only thing that ever gets in the way is somebody deciding, I will not be human today. Like what makes us human? Is it consciousness?
Well, that's one of the components for sure.
Okay. So consciousness is definitely a component, right? Do you know how much bandwidth your conscious mind has?
Man, I have to upgrade it every single day.
I can tell you. I can tell you. Like 40 bits per second worth of processing power. Do you know how much bandwidth your subconscious mind has? 2 million bits per second. So you got to look at the conscious mind as this tool that's 40 bits per second. What the hell would that tool be if there's 2 million bits per second? Like before I said, hey, think about how your shoe feels on your foot. You were not experiencing that, even though you've been experiencing the entire time, right? And once your focus went there, okay, so what's the conscious for? Well, it's for driving focus. What's the conscious for? It's for complex thought. What's conscious for? It's for questioning. It takes 18,000 bits per second worth of information to walk. Meaning we had to master patterns long enough to figure out 18,000 bits per second worth of coding and formulas out of a 40 bit per second conscious mind. It is safe and it is easy to operate in that pattern center of the subconscious mind. But if you live in your subconscious, then I think you're subhuman. If you live in your conscious, then anything that you see, anything that you experience can become a question, which can become an opportunity, which can become a curiosity. If you question and love the idea that you may not know everything versus having a conclusion, and a conclusion is already an ending. Make bad decisions all you want, because you can change them. Don't make bad conclusions, because you can't change an ending. When your life concludes, you're dead. So if you ever have a negative emotion towards anyone else, if you're ever angry at somebody else, it's because you had some idea around that's good or bad. Now, do people do bad things? Of course they do. Are people bad people? I don't believe that's the case. I think people can be conditioned wrong. The same way that you could take that sweet dog, Gidget, that was here earlier.
Yeah.
And you could abuse that dog, and that dog will bite people. Or you could love that dog, and then it won't. It'll be an amazing animal that runs in and is happy to see you every single day. What if people were the same?
The programming.
We're all computers. We're all like let's be fun on computers. You take a computer and you trigger that computer by hitting enter, which goes to an anchored set of programming and creates a function. But if I go say Donald Trump or Joe Biden, I'm doing the same thing to humans.
Pretty much.
Like I'm going to trigger something anchored. And it could be that. It could be like Christianity. It could be Islam. It doesn't, like a religion is not necessarily like what you believe in anymore. It's just what you'd kill or die for. So
you're causing a reaction.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's the same kind of context that I like to use too when I'm out giving education. But one of the things I kind of use a cell phone thing. I start off the class with the little kids when I'm talking to them, and I say, "Hey, well, how many of you guys have a phone?" "Oh, well, I got I have an iPhone, or I have a Samsung." And it's like, well, what's the first thing that you do when you take it out of the case when you buy it? Well, you have to charge it. Of course, charging it is the most important thing. But then after that, what comes after that? Well, the programming comes into it. That phone that you're programming right now, anything having to do with social media, anything having to do with the messaging, anything having to do with your voice, anything having to do with the way you think, that little device is actually you, if you think about it, right? So pretty much that's one of the ways that I kind of talk to kids about programming, because I think it's important that when I talk to parents regarding parenting classes, I tell them the same thing. You got to change the programming of the child. Well, the way you do things, obviously, not trying to control the child, but also, by leading by example, right? Is that something that you're pretty much, is that how you refer to your context also?
Yeah. Same thing. And I think a lot of people are talking about it and they're using different language for it, but it's all the same thing. I mean, I call it living on purpose. And it's real simple. Like if you ever had an emotion that you're experiencing right now that you would not choose, like if you're having depression and you wouldn't choose that, then someone else is driving the vehicle that is you.
Yeah.
If you're angry and you would not choose that, well, either you don't have choice or you're not living on purpose, which means somebody else is choosing for you. And can I give, I'm going to give a little success tip. Most people call me because they want me to talk about business and money and all this, even though the point of life is not business and money, it's happiness. Funny enough, what I've found is if you help people get a lot more fucking money, they'll listen to you on all the other shit that gets them to happiness. Isn't that weird? So I'm going to give a little finance tip. Okay. Most of the time when people are getting triggered, there's a problem. Is that fair?
Yes.
There's a problem, or at least a perceived problem. Okay. Most of the time there's a problem because there's not enough curiosity and conscious thinking. Everybody's talking about the value of AI. I'll tell you what, AI doesn't mean shit to me. I mean, we're using it. I have it. Like, I've got a technology officer and all that, but everybody's talking about AI and they're not realizing the power of I am. Oof. You think about how powerful I am is. Oh, God said, I made you in my image. Well, he's a community of souls and we're a community of cells. And on this rock, there's 8 billion of us. Oh, so AI can perceive things, 4,000 times more, thoroughly than a human. Okay, well, we have 8 billion interconnected in a community like I am is pretty huge. So when there's that problem, okay, oh, we have an unsolvable problem, a person's got triggered, this, that, and the other. If you go and meet with them, study the problem from their angle, find a way to ask different questions. You know what happens when you find an unanswerable problem and you show up and learn about it? 9 times out of 10, you become the solution. And then there's a lot of money on the other side of the table. And that works so well in business. You become the solution to somebody's unanswered problem because they had an emotional reaction. EQ is important, emotional quotient. But if you take this EQ and you mix it with IQ, you're the solution. And then you start getting rich. Well, we're jumping into business. I know this is life, prosperity, and all that, but it works the same way.
It does.
It works the same way in family. You know what? Let me tell you a fun problem. You know what? I don't know if is that. Oh.
It's okay.
Can they hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fun problem. My wife and I have been together. We're going to celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary next year, but we've been together longer. I like to tell people I settled, okay? Because I was looking for an 18-year-old and she was 19. So I always joke that I settled. But she's amazing. She's a gorgeous, incredible, like super powerful woman. And we've now been together around 15, 16 years, married almost 10. And there's been 3, maybe 4 different times that we've been together, 3 since we've been married, where she has come to me with a problem. And she's come to me and she said, hey, you know what? I can't tolerate this thing you're doing anymore. I'm done. You go to any relationship expert anywhere, you know what they're going to tell you? If somebody puts their finger on the trigger, they might as well be holding a gun to your head. That's not a relationship.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
No, not at all.
And I mean, I can see the context in which they say it. But I also can sit down and say, I don't like what she's saying. I don't like how the woman's saying it. It hurts my feelings. Logically, let me look at the behavior. Is it good for me? Is it good for the family? Is it good for the community? Let me look at her perspective. Let me look at my perspective. Let me remove perspectives and just go straight to perception. I mean, what is perspective? I mean, perspective is just putting a filter over what you really see. Like if you think of any ism, racism, sexism, that's all a perspective. Like you don't like somebody based on them being different than you. That's a perspective, not a perception.
Yeah.
Like if I say, hey, you have a beard, that's perception. If I say, I don't like guys with beards, well, that would be perspective. Yeah. Does that make sense? So what if I sat back and said, can't believe she said that. This bitch, I'm out. I'd have a very different relationship with my kids, very different relationship with my wife for sure.
Yeah.
And I would probably be miserable. And that'd be the same as saying, hey, you know what? I met you when you were 19. You're 33 years old now. You're not allowed to ever change your perspective, beliefs, ideas. You're not allowed to evolve. You must be the same person I met at 19 years old because people never change.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
So now, if my wife is watching this, baby, sometimes you could learn to communicate that shit better because she's, beautiful artist, but she's also blunt. And
that's a good thing.
Which helps me because I don't mind that. But I'm so grateful that she does because she knows her needs. And there's been times where I've come to her and I don't say it that way. And I'm like, hey, look, can we look at this? Like, because there's things I don't want to tolerate as I'm changing.
How could you fall in love with somebody that doesn't call you out on your bullshit? Right? She has to be able to say, hey, you know what? You did A, B, and C.
Right.
I'm going to call you out on it. If she doesn't do that, then you're not going to see your relationship as a very interesting relationship. It's going to cause problems in the long run.
But most people have too many rules. They have too many rules on what somebody else's behavior is supposed to be. Or they've listened to too many people on social media that say, always this, never this. I don't think there's a lot of alwayses. I don't think there's a lot of nevers. I mean, there's some that the exceptions that prove the rule, like, how about always be loving? Well, that's a fair one.
Yeah.
But what if somebody's barging in to murder your kids? Maybe that's not an always, right? Like, maybe you murder them.
Yeah, that's a different scenario.
Yeah, so how many alwayses and nevers are there? You got to sit and look and be like, maybe these social media gurus should put context. Maybe that 30-second reel's great, but I should go watch the 30-minute explanation. Like, I'll tell you, one guy I absolutely love right now, I think he's just a genius, is Barry Habib, great real estate economist, brilliant guy. And I'll see his reels. And you know what I think reels are? I think they're the advertising that gets you interested.
The hook, for sure.
And I'm like, that's a great hook. I need to go watch the rest. I need to understand why he's saying that. Anybody can give you a compelling 2 minutes. In sex, they call that a quickie. Making love is not always 2 minutes. You might want to spend, a little time on it.
Yeah.
Foreplay's there for a reason. It fucking works, right? So you want the right experience. Maybe not the 2 minute quickie. Like, go for something a little more.
Yeah, well, that's quite a lot of information having to do with relationships. I mean, you're talking about the dynamic you have at home, and I look at the butterfly effect. I mean, your wife comes to you with a problem, and you have to somehow be able to process what she's trying to say, because, quite frankly, if you don't manage that problem well, Preston, it's going to affect the whole world. Your kids, your work life, your employees, everybody.
Your health.
But your health, yeah. But people don't really dive into that. They think, screw her. Whatever, we'll get divorced, or she'll go ahead and take me to court, or what have you. Those are major issues right now. There's a lot of people that are not getting married anymore because of that stuff. You know what I mean? There's especially our youth. They've lost so much interest in true love, and people being tolerant with each other and being able to respect one another, because, hey, I can't really tell him or her anything because, they get offended, right? Or all kinds of rules that are being tossed out there because of these political, I don't know what to call them, but they're causing a lot of restrictions and a lot of tension between.
They're hooks.
Yeah.
They're hooks. It's the 2 minute catch line. Like, so here, let me be politically incorrect, which I also think means authentic and honest and just not lie. We live in an age of movements. Movements have always been here. There's never been a time in history where there wasn't a movement. Okay? Like women's suffrage movement. Hey, you know what? Slavery's wrong. Movement. Now we have a movement every 2 fucking weeks, which has degraded the value of the movements. Okay? And the movements are based on the 2 minute tagline, not the 2 hour talk. I look at movements, and most movements are something you should flush right after you wiped. Okay? If I take a movement right now, I don't want to leave it reeking for the entire house to smell. That's the value of a movement, unless it's a quality thing. And we're making movements to create controversy, and we're doing it to divide people, and people aren't thinking. Like, I love controversy. I think it's fun. Like, I loved Black Lives Matter. They do. I don't know anyone rational that would say they don't. But I also didn't understand why it was controversial to say all lives matter, especially if black people are included. I don't want anyone to feel unsafe. I want everybody to be happy. There's nothing wrong with Black Lives Matter. I mean, fuck. Oh my God. Are you offended? Do I offend you, McKinley?
No, you do not offend me.
I love you too. and let's play a fucking movement here. Like, there's this new trans movement, right? Look, you know what? That's a real thing. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I have met a kid who definitely had gender dysphoria. I've been alive 40 years. I've met one. It's not as big as you're going to see on the fucking news. It's not every... But this kid definitely was going to have some questions, and he's going to probably have a very hard life. Do I think trans people should have rights? Yes. And I think anyone who doesn't is a sadistic asshole that needs to realize that get out of your own head and start looking at the we, not the I. Okay? I am only has power because of we.
Yes.
But movements tend to say, hey, we should give this group rights by removing it from somebody else. Like, when I look at let's put Leah Thomas, who's maybe a trans person. I don't know. Like, I don't have a dog in that fight of she's a girl, he's a boy. I don't care. Okay. I do think swimming against natural women is not fair to natural women. Okay. Like, and we've never had a situation like this before. Like, you know, there were people with challenges that wanted to do sports, and we came up with the Special Olympics, okay? Like, it would have not been fair to put people in Special Olympics in the Olympics. We wanted to do something to include people there.
Right.
Like, why can't we have a third category if there's enough people to warrant it? Why can't we? Why can't we have a girls, a boys, and an other, and do something to keep everybody happy? We've done it in the past. It's not a new thing. We don't need to hurt one person to help another. Saying Black Lives Matter does not mean cops' lives don't matter. Saying cops' lives matter does not mean Black lives don't matter. People are having stupid conversations and talking about stupid things because they're being given the 2-minute tagline instead of being given, hey, here's a real problem we should solve.
Why do you think that is, though, Preston? I mean, think about it. Social media, TikTok.
Yeah.
People are losing interest in having real conversations now, and they base people's personalities on 1 or 2 clips, and that's it, that are 30 seconds long, right? Instead of really looking at the big picture here, right? Like, for example, I could tell you that, you know, you can put out a clip and somebody can put so much negative connotation into it in 30 seconds, right? They can destroy somebody's reputation instead of build them up, right?
I don't think that's true. I mean, I see what you're saying, and I see what their attempt is, and their attempt is true. But they can only destroy you if you let them. On my, TikTok and Instagram, every day, I get haters. And they hate me for some 2-minute or shorter tagline. But their hate blows me up. And I appreciate them for it. Because the more attention they give me, the more they expand my content.
Right.
The more other people listen. Like, look, I don't think I'm for everyone. I cuss a lot. Like, some people are like so offended by that I'm not for them. You know? Like, and that's okay. If you get offended because I cuss a lot, I'm sorry, I don't want to offend you, but I'm not going to change who I am for you either. So fuck off. You know? But if you're offended because I said, hey, you know, like, this work from home movement is not a smart thing when we have virtual assistants in other countries that represent the same net effect to your boss, and your boss might do a cost benefit analysis. I got so much hate. I got millions of views. I got so much hate on this post.
Okay.
And they were so mad because I said, hey, employees, look at the idea of working from home while you're pushing for this. It's not a low risk proposition. If you're an employee, there's Medicare, there's Medicaid, there's Social Security. There's like all these different things that add to the cost of you.
Yes.
If you're in America, you're more expensive. I can get an Indian or a Filipino or somebody from Mexico, and it might be $4 an hour, $5 an hour, something like that. I don't have all the other expenses. And if they do a good job and these are hungry people, why wouldn't I do a cost benefit analysis if the business's goal is to perform a function? Man, I got so much hate. And I'm so grateful for it.
Okay.
You know why? Because it was true. What I said was true. And it got me literally thousands or tens of thousands of new people that came to consume my content because they were like, okay, I want to see it. I want to see what this guy's saying. Mm-hmm. And if you go like read one scripture of the Bible, you might think, man, the Bible's a really stupid book. Mm-hmm. If you go compare a scripture against a scripture against a scripture, read the whole book, you're gonna be like, oh.
Now you're making connections.
I'm understanding. So the folks that like came in and started consuming more of the content, they were able to see, oh, okay, well, this is what this guy's about. I can see what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And look, that was clickbait. It was designed to trigger the losers. Mm-hmm. And do you know why I call them losers?
How come?
Because they trend losing over and over and over again. Because they cannot use IQ and EQ. If you are driven only by your emotions and you're not living on purpose, and you hate everyone around you because of a difference in belief or idea, or you get triggered immediately, you're going to lose at most things, and you are a loser. That's not an attack. Mm-hmm. That's a fact. Measure the trends. But those people who are in that situation are the best advertising on earth. They cannot destroy you unless you let them. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so then you keep going out there and you keep preaching what you're preaching. And if you're coming from a good place and you have a good heart and you do want to help people, they're going to see that. But you're also human. Like, they don't care if you're not perfect. In fact, when you're not perfect, they like you more. Mm-hmm. When people find out that, like, on my business journey, I was a shit father for a while. I was not the perfect husband for a while. Yeah. Then I lost my dad, and all of a sudden I looked around and said, oh my God, never lost love. Look at all these amazing people around me. How do I have a better, more compelling experience with them? And I completely shifted my paradigm. Like, I can go talk about my lows because I screwed up. I was wrong. I wasn't a bad person, but I made bad decisions. Mm-hmm. And those bad decisions, thank God, were the soil, the fertilizer that grew the seed that germinated me today. Mm-hmm. And so I'm grateful even for the bad decisions. I'm grateful for the people who are in that hatred, who are blowing up my posts, because they're getting the people that are not. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting invited to more podcasts and speaking engagements. I just got invited to a speaking engagement in Dubai.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. That's cool, man.
As often as I cuss, I'm going to have to worry about that. I think it's illegal over there. But like, I'm like, wow, okay. So they're putting on this crazy big event and they want me to go and they want me to talk about, business and finance and sales and spirituality. And I'm like, you want, okay, how many hours do I have? You know what I mean? Like, but talk about fun. That wouldn't be happening unless somebody talk shit on my social media.
Yeah. So in a way, you're saying haters are good, right? It's good to have them haters sometimes online, right?
So if you have only haters, that's an indicator. Mm-hmm. You want both. Like, you want, and then like, I'll generally like not argue with my haters. I'll question my haters sometimes. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
That's
like,
true.
When it turns into an argument, I'll just be like, look, if that's a religion to you that you'll kill or die for, like, I don't even fight this fight. Like,
but you don't even mess with that stuff though, right? Nah. On social media, right?
Nah. Sometimes they'll bring it to me and I'll be like, well, ask him this question. Mm-hmm. Ask him this question. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Trump, but I don't think Biden's doing a great job. I don't like the defund the police movement, but I think defunding the FBI is also a stupid movement. Like, could we regulate all these institutions and just have cleaner, safer law enforcement that would do a better job at all levels? Yeah. Why is it okay to defund one and not the other? Like getting into these taglines, like everybody was like, oh, Biden's too old at 78. Trump's going to be 78, guys. Like the same people that said it. Like if you're saying something that makes you a hypocrite, now Trump and Biden, neither one of them want to debate. Both of them are talking about how the other one's a threat to democracy, but neither one of them want to debate, which is what democracy is about. Like, I laugh at people because they can't look at things without a filter. Mm-hmm. They have to have a filter. It's you're good or you're bad. And this is why they're unhappy.
So it's a lack of critical thinking.
That's the one thing. We talked about the one thing that holds them back. That consciousness. Mm-hmm. That is the main thing that makes us human. If we're made in God's image and we came here to, I'm assuming, perform some function. I don't think God just thinks we're all useless. I think there's some function. What if that function was feedback? What if that function was, hey, you came here to learn something. You came here to grow in some way.
Yeah.
Like, You have a body. I have a body. Do you know that every human being on the planet has cancer? Every single one. What's a cancer cell? A cancer cell is a cell that mutates in an environment that is toxic because it wants to survive the toxic environment. So it mutates. The body then takes all these cells, puts them in a little tumor. Or if you're healthier, says, oh, you know what? Let's clean that out because we don't want it to create a tumor. Every human has cells that you get cleaned out. So we're a community of cells. He's a community of souls. We all have problems. We all came here to learn something. What'd you come here to learn? What if the problems were the point? What if finding a way to be joyful and happy was the point despite your problems? Or we'll all go watch that movie about that, the lion or that's like the king of the jungle and he has all this like adversity that he overcomes, or the knight that slays the dragon. And then we see the dragon in our life. We're like, oh, fuck no. Like, no, run to the fucking dragon.
Yep.
Like, you came to learn some shit. Do that. Like, that's your gift. And then people are going to be like, wow. I love Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. I love all these guys that are changing the world. They're all amazing. Are they all doing things exactly the way I would do them in their shoes? No. But if you compare things about them, they're amazing. And those same comparable things you could find in Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Jay Gould, Pierpont Morgan. Oh, wow. So you mean you go back 100 years and it's the same things that are making people amazing. And you know what it is? Thinking, curiosity. And they fell in love with problems and found a way to be happy, regardless of the situation. I did a speaking engagement, same one that I talked about earlier. And there was this gal and she was in a wheelchair and she was like, her body was gone. Okay. Pretty face sitting there, but like literally could like move her hand. And she was happy. There were able-bodied people all over that room. You saw her. And I'm going up and she's just so happy. I'm talking to her and she's grateful and we're shooting the breeze. And there were people that they had everything and they were miserable. And here's
it's a gratitude thing then. Everything's
taken from. Happy. And she was so beautiful because that smile, like you can get all makeup or whatever you want in the world. And there is beauty in the flesh or whatever if you want. But her smile made her gorgeous. And if you were to look at her, and most people would probably have not called her gorgeous, but her smile was truly the law of attraction because despite all the adversity that she obviously had, she's mastering being happy. And we all fuck it up every day of the week.
We do. For little insignificant things too.
Yeah.
Now that you've had a lot of success in life, Preston, and thank you for that reflection. That's actually awesome. How has your life changed with managing business and your family now? When you wake up in the morning, you're at home, you have your kids, you have your wife. How do you see life now at your age now?
How do I see life now? I think I actually might see life now, and I didn't before. Some people have heard my story. I'll give you the brief version. My dad was taken advantage of in business. He had this dream of being a business guy, and he didn't know how to build, didn't know how to charge, didn't know how to collect. So this guy basically cheated him, and I got to be the charity case that went and demanded payment with my dad when I was 7 years old, and Mom said, go collect what you're owed. Dad didn't get what he was owed. He compromised, and he shut down his business that next day, and I'm 7 years old experiencing hatred for the first time, and that made money the meaning of life. And money was my goal. It was my mission. I was a terrible father, terrible husband, shit friend. Like, I've got friends now that knew me back then, that were kind of the friend acquaintance back then, and they're like, fuck, man, can I tell you something? Like, I really like you now. And I'm like, what does that mean? Well, dude, you're not toxic like you were. You're not always looking for the one up or the gain or the, whatever it was that I needed to fill a hole because money was the meaning of life. And I got rich because I was ruthless. But I wasn't ever happy. I couldn't see life. Best day of my life was the worst day of my life. When my dad died, I got the truth. And the truth was the meaning of life is love. And no different than food, water, or air, love is a need. You deny love from somebody, you get a sociopath. I think I was one. You could get a psychopath, like those kids that shot up Columbine, or these kids that are running around shooting up schools now. It's not a gun problem. I mean, sure, there may be too many guns. That's a different discussion. But that is 100% a mental health problem. What are they missing? Love. 100% of the time, in 100% of the cases, they don't feel loved at all. They don't feel valued. I was chasing money because my dad had a wound, and my mission in life at 7 years old became to heal his wound. And I think from 7 years old to all the way to 2019 when he passed, I think I was a robot. I think I was operating on programming laced with pain from past experiences. Significant emotional events in my life caused vents, which made me ruthless and wealthy. And I say wealthy like mediocre wealthy. I was a millionaire, decamillionaire maybe. I have a lot more than that now. A lot more than that now. But it all went up exponentially once love became the meaning of life. It's funny.
So how do you see your kids now? I mean,
that's my main mission. Like, and not just my kids, like my kids, your kids, everyone's kids. Like if I say one thing somewhere to somebody that helps them go out and have a better life, then my life meant something. Like, that's the point, man, is the next generation. Like, I get to spend time with them. Like, my little boy's best friend was my dad. And then my dad left. Well, now I'm my little boy's best friend. He didn't lose a best friend. He gained a father who was also his best friend. And, I look at that and I think the meaning of life is this human connection. It's this human collaboration. It's this co-elevation. It's not most of the shit we look at. I mean, yeah, I do a lot of business talks. I mean, faith, family, fitness, finance. These are the 4 cores of human experience, right? Here, watch. Let me borrow your hand. Faith, family, fitness, finance, right? And we'll use that thumb, which is not a need. We'll call that one fun. Okay, let's just tuck that one in for a second, right? The thumb makes you the primate, okay? Now, if progress equals happiness, going up, faith, family, fitness, finance. Finance, let's call it the pinky. And everybody who's not watching, they're listening. I'm holding his hand. He's got 4 fingers. And just like faith, fitness, family, and finance, they're tethered to one another, even though they're not the same thing. And imagine, for all the listeners, the hand going up because progress equals happiness. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Here, I'm going to put an anchor on finance. Go ahead. Go on. I'm holding his pinky down, and he can't go up on any of the other ones.
Definitely difficult.
So, it's funny. I never had a money problem. And nobody does. I didn't have a resource problem, which is what finance is. I was young and pretty healthy, so fitness was fine. I had a family and faith problem. I didn't understand that love was the meaning of life. Family meaning sending energy, love if you want. Faith meaning receiving energy. I'm not talking about Christianity or Judaism or whatever. That's all great too, but I'm talking about like receiving love or giving love. That's faith and family. I didn't know how to give love because I felt somebody stole something from my dad. And they did steal some money. But my great regret in not spending more time with him turned into my beautiful gift that now I get to spend more time with my wife, my kids, my friends. I've become even more successful. And you want to know what money is? It's an amplifier. So that's helping me get louder. I've got a social media team. They're putting my content out everywhere. I'm getting invited to speak all over the place. Like, fuck, I'm 40 and I don't ever have to work again. Insurance companies say you have 2 years from retirement till you die if you're a man. So I either need to retire because I'm done with money, right? Or maybe I can go do some other cool money shit too, but that's easy now. It's not even fun. So what can I do that's fun? Well, what if I said one fucking thing that changed one person's life and made them think one different way and it saved a marriage? or made a person a better father? What if somebody heard my story, but it wasn't my story they were hearing because they were reliving that as their story? And they were like, oh, that's good perspective. And instead of going through 20 years of stupidity or ignorance, they solved it today. And they changed their kid's life. Like, just, that's the point, man. Like, happiness is the point. Money, nobody listens to you on that faith, family, fitness, finance until you change their finance. Why? Because we live in a finite world. You know, we have everything in the universe. When we go back home and we're with God and everything's infinite, cool. There's no struggle with the infinite world. And you know what I think we're all here for? I think we're here to learn love. And I know your team's like looking at timing and all this or whatever. So I'll end on this because I know that they're worried about timing. Did you know love can be measured?
How so?
Well, if conditional love is I'm making an agreement with you, and if you honor the agreement, I do the loving thing I promised to do. And then there's unconditional love, which says I love you beyond any condition. And then you go look at marriages, and marriages have vows, and vows are conditions that they're built upon. You can only love someone as much as you're willing to suffer for them when they break your vows. When somebody does something they should not have done that breaks the agreement, even if you had righteous anger, you continuing to love them. Like, look, I'm not saying you maintain the relationship the way it is. Like, if somebody goes and cheats on you, you don't have to stay married, but you have to stay loving. You don't have to. You should.
Yeah.
You don't have to continue the relationship, but you should continue the love. You can only love someone as much as you're willing to suffer for them. So God sends the cells that make up the body of God here to the finite reality that is earth in our lives. And in a finite world where resources are not abundant, there will be suffering. And where there will be suffering, if we can still be loving, maybe we're learning the lesson we're here to learn.
Powerful. Most definitely. That's good. Yeah. Pretty good stuff, man, Preston. You don't cease to impress me, man. I really admire the things that you're doing, man. And what you're doing right now with being able to be out in the community and spreading this word is really cool. I think it's just icing on the cake. Seriously. I mean, it's admirable what you're doing on a business level, but the fact that you're talking about, you know, the family and the wife and the community and making this place a better place, to me, you've won my respect, man, for sure.
Thank you.
So I really do appreciate that.
You know, can I make a shameless plug?
Absolutely.
I'm putting an investment in a company called Elevate EP for events. And we're going to start bringing in speakers. So I any of your listeners that want to come out and do it, I think they're selling tickets at like $10. I'll give you and your entire team some free tickets to take or give out. But we have Joseph McClendon, world famous, life-changing social psychologist, coming in June. We have different speakers coming. I am investing a shitload of money because I see El Paso as this emerging city, and we're no longer the small town, but we're not the big city. But I want to bring talent here that makes people look at things and some of the different ways that I've seen different cities, different cultures, different peoples look at things where there's not such a limit in the way that we think, but maybe a little more of an abundant view, a little more of a collaborative view. And so just please, if your listeners are interested, look up Elevate EP. It just got social media pages. And then they're going to be putting on events every month this year for the remainder of the year and probably going into the future, bringing in speakers that are life-changing.
Great. Is this going to take place in one venue?
It's the Starlight Event Center on Airway.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Great. Thank you for that. And if somebody's looking out and trying to find Preston for some advice on maybe they're in a rut, they want to get out of a rut, they want to increase their revenue, they want to be able to, become better businessmen, where can they find you?
So easiest way is social media. I give away all of my content for free on social media. The Preston Brown is, I think, all of our handles across all of the social medias. If there's coaching, most of the coaching I do is business coaching. I have a higher level coaching program. You can check that out. Like for some of the high net worth folks that want that, that's a more expensive commitment. We've got, I'm missing this trip because that group is in Rwanda this week doing a guerrilla trek with Dr. John Gray. And so we put on these crazy trips for our high net worth clients. And
Dr. John Gray.
From Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
The guy's amazing, but it's
super. I mean, he did a collaboration with Farrell, Dr. Farrell, The Boy Crisis. You read that book? It's extremely awesome.
But I've seen some of their stuff and they're both incredible, but like I'm missing that trip because it's my little boy's birthday this week and I can't miss number 7. So I'm missing Rwanda, Africa. But so like my high level company, we only take 100 clients at a time. That one's probably a 6-figure commitment every year. You can check it out if you want. It's yblnow.com. Your Best Life is that company. And then we also have a regular coaching program. It's like $2,000 a year, but that's focused on business. And we get into some of the other stuff, but it's more, we need to get your money right. Like we need to get people out of the resource problems before we start worrying about everything else. Productivity outside of consciousness, like consciousness is what makes us human, right? But productivity is what gives us the ability to make an impact. Real wealth comes from productivity. So the coaching program I have that's the most affordable that most folks jump into, it's an all Zoom deal. It's every Friday, and you can check that out on my website, www.theprestonbrown.com. And that one's $2,000 a year. And I don't know, there might be a monthly option. I don't even know. And your company will be changed. I have 3 of my mentors and I all teach on that. And if you go there and you don't see your business, like if say you're in a small business doing $100,000 a year and you don't double it, I'll give your money back. Like I'll tell you a fun one. On that one, we had a doctor come in, a fantastic surgeon come in. And it was like, man, I'm so pissed. Like some people, they come in and they sign up and we help them and they don't pay. And the big problem in the medical world is, so here's some free advice for all the medical people that might be listening to your podcast. They don't have to pay anymore. Like just the way the rules are, like you may never get paid. So a lot of doctors, they have to charge so much because half of the clients might pay. So we started doing an analysis. We started doing an application to work with this doctor because he had a brand. He was successful and he did a great job. And we did this analysis by doing an application and a check on everybody, including credit and everything else. And I stole it from a property management company. Like we literally used property management forms, removed some questions, added some other ones. I was like, yeah, pull their credit, whatever. Let's do it. Like, let's just get data. Well, we found out over about 3 months which people were and which people weren't going to pay within about a 98% chance. And then we created one process. We said, hey, you know what? Do this little credit application. There's no fee to it. And the people that hit the criteria that wouldn't pay got referred to other doctors. And he started taking all the ones, quadrupled his money. So if you're a doctor, there's a simple way to quadruple your money for,
a simple business model, huh?
Simple hack.
Little hacks, yeah.
Most people don't have big problems in business. And they're doing the right thing, but at the wrong stage of development. He was doing philanthropy in a stage where he needed to be focusing on efficiency. It's great to help everyone. And the Hippocratic Oath says you help everyone. But God also said with the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Get enough wealth to move mountains. And the reason you get that wealth is it's not about the money. Money will never make you happy. But poverty is a really stupid fucking idea. So we should all get lots of money and go out and help lots of people because it's a resource. The more money you have, the louder you are. That program, we change lives every day. Like it's so cool to see the messages in the WhatsApp group and, oh my God, I achieved this. And it's like, wow. Holy shit. And some of them young kids, 25-year-olds, I did my first $1 million. What the fuck? Awesome.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's awesome, man. Preston, anything that you want to say before we wrap this one up?
Nothing, brother. Just have an amazing day on purpose and don't live outside of purpose.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you coming out here, man, out of your busy schedule, man. We greatly appreciate your advice and man, good luck on all the things that you're doing, because you're definitely doing admirable stuff, man, for sure. Awesome. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week.